Alright, so we started making wine, and if you make wine like I make wine, it's the same problem I've got, and that's storage. Now I live in the tropics, so it gets hot, too hot to store wine really, and I don't want the wine to go off, but I want to be able to store it for at least a few years. Now what will kill wine is temperature fluctuations. That'll really kill it. Storing wine in a constant hotter temperature is not the best, but it's better than having it go up and down temperature. So you should store wine at about 14 degrees in a controlled humidity and that sort of stuff, but I can't do it because I don't have the money, okay, because that means air conditioners and special stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a special room in my house just for wine, and how I'm going to control temperature is to use the thermal mass of brick. My house is brick, so I've got a brick wall here, a brick wall behind me, and a concrete floor. And the huge thermal mass of those things there, they're very difficult to change the temperature of, will stop the environment inside my little room, stop the temperature inside my room from changing. Now the other thing you should do is you should keep if you're going to make a wine cellar like this, keep it away from an external wall. This wall here is in the middle of the house, and so is this one. So there's no external walls. If you have it against an external wall, the sun will heat the external wall up and will have a larger effect in the brick. But these are internal, no sunlight touches them, no sunlight touches the floor obviously, no sunlight touches the back wall, so if we can enclose this area and insulate it, it'll be the best passive environment that I can make up here without digging a hole in the ground and putting a proper cellar in to store wine. Now I'm going to have to insulate the roof, but I'm going to show you some tricks that you can do to really reduce the cost of insulating the walls and the roof, because I have to build a couple of little stud walls. So I'll come back and do that in a minute. And the last thing I want to say is with regard to actually racking the wine. You can store it on the ground or you can store it on shelves. And I looked around for the cheapest possible way to rack wine, or to make a racking for wine to store it. And I came to the conclusion it was either a weld mesh, which is like a square metal mesh. I was going to buy some of that and paint it and weld it together. But in the end, I got these. Because I was looking around for a while how to do it, these came on sale at a special, at one of the real, the cheap shops. You get the dollars and cents shops that really have the cheap stuff. They come on sale at a special there, so I went and bought a heap of them. And I couldn't make them cheaper than this. But what it does do is, because I've got them now, if I want to, I probably won't get any more of these because I like a one-off special, but I've got a template for the wine. If I ever want to make my own, I can just get some timber and cut it out to extend it. But I'm going to use these. I'm going to modify a couple of these to make it fit. That's how I'm going to do it. So I'll step through the rest of it and we'll go back from there. Alright, we're back. Now as you can see, I'm building a frame here. You can see the frame here? This is just all pines, what they call pine studs in Australia, so it's 70 by 35mm pine studs. Standard building timber, nothing real exciting at all. Now, I'm not going to tell you how to build a pine stud wall. If you don't know, well, email me and I'll do something about it. But just basically a basic frame. This gap here you can see is really large. That's going to be my door, and there's a reason why that's so large in this design. Now, the normal one probably wouldn't be that large, to be honest, but I'm doing something fancy, so I'll show you that later on. The one thing I really want to show you was that this here is the step. It's got a step into it, it's higher than the ground, it's not flat in the floor. Now I did this for a reason, is that when you get a draft or air and that sort of stuff leaks into a room, it generally leaks in under the door. It's very hard to seal around a door. So I've just added this little bit here to try and help stop that draft getting in, and our door won't sit, our door will sort of sit on the front more so than sit inside, like closed flush. Now that's pretty much the basics. What we're going to do is we're going to insulate on these panels. I've left the gyprock off, or drywall for Americans. I've left that off, but essentially all this in here will be filled with insulation. And there's a neat way to make the insulation cheap. I've got the same around there, but you can't see it, and the other walls are brick, so I won't insulate them at all. But I'll have to insulate the roof, because the roof in this house doesn't have very much insulation, and that's where most of my problems will come from in here, is the roof. But once it's all insulated right round and on the roof, the thermal mass of the bricks and the floor should keep it cool. Now you can see the wine racks that are sitting here at the moment. I'm still mucking around with how I'm going to fit them in. But they'll sit in there like that, and they'll basically be screwed down so they can't move. I just don't trust these things not to tip over, particularly a lot of wine in them. And do remember though that these things will hold some serious weight. If you're talking about a bottle of wine, it's about 750 millilitres normally. I'm not sure what that is in ounces. But by the time you work that out in kilos, it's about 750, 800 grams. Add the bottle, you're talking about probably 900 grams to a kilo. So if you're talking a kilo, that's what, 2 pounds. You're talking about an average wine rack like this holds 60. That's 60 kilos. You know, that's the weight of a sort of, you know, a small girl or a, you know, large boy, something like that. And if you're going to have as many bottles in here as I'm going to have, which is going to be close to 200, there'll be 200 kilos of wine. It's a fair bit of weight. So you just be prepared for all that weight. So that's the other thing to watch out for. But I'll keep progressing away. As I keep progressing away, I'll give you some updates and you can check it out. Alrighty. For our wine cellar, there's just something I want to show you, and that was this stuff here. We've all seen this stuff, polystyrene sheeting, so we can get close. It's just a piece of polystyrene. This comes out of a packing box, but you get them in the grocery store. You know, when you go to grocery stores, sometimes you see the polystyrene boxes there, the cool boxes. This stuff is just insulation. It's perfect insulation. You can get it and break it up and pack it into the walls. So when you do your walls, your wine cellar, make sure that you leave a cavity, a good cavity, and then pack it with some sort of insulation. Now that stuff there you get for nothing. If you go to grocery stores, I often throw these boxes out. Get the boxes and break them up and stuff them into the walls. But one thing you will need is you'll need some of that expander foam. You get it in a can, and you just, with the nozzle on it, you put that in the corners, expander foam. You don't need this a cellar to be like sealed such that it's airtight, but you want it sealed to keep out as much of the heat and air as possible. So get some expander foam, go around all the joints and all the corners where there's big gaps, and get some of that polystyrene sheeting if you're doing it on a cheap budget, or you can just go and buy some of the glass fibre battens, you know, the insulation battens you get, and line your walls with them. But make sure you line any walls that aren't brick or concrete or stone, because the stone, the brick and the concrete will keep the temperature stable. Anything else will let the temperature fluctuate. So insulate all walls that aren't that, especially the roof and the floor. I mean, here the problem is the roof, so we've insulated all the roof, all the walls, and we insulate the door as well, the back of the door. So you can get an insulated door if you want. You can get like a double glazed glass door from a fridge or a display fridge if you've got access to that. You know, people that are redoing shops sometimes chuck those things out. Go to there, check them out if you like, or you can just make your own door, but make sure you get a door that is insulated, not just any old door, because heat will go straight through it. I'll show you some more in a sec. Welcome to my finished wine cellar. You're going to love this. I've always wanted to do this. Ta-da! How cool is that? Oh, I just love that.